Hello and welcome to another episode of the Plus 63 HP Podcast Reviews Edition. I am one of your hosts, John Clemente. Alongside with me are two of my bestest best friend. I'm gonna start with the man in the middle, CHUBAX. How are you doing?
What's up? Yes, I'm CHUBAX. Welcome back and happy to be here. I'm doing good.
Oh,
A little tired, but it is what it is.
yeah. Yeah, we're always tired of the weekend, but always fun to hang out with friends, including our man from the West Coast, waking up at an ungodly hour to hang out with us. Arnie, how you doing?
Hello there. Good morning. Yeah, it's really early here.
Early on a weekend, but still
Yeah.
making content for you guys and hanging out together. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you very much for the view. This is the Plus 63 HP podcast, stable of podcasts where we have on Mondays and Tuesdays reviews and deep dives of current movies and series that you can watch either in the theaters or on streaming platforms. On Wednesdays, we drop our very first D&D campaign. A couple of 40-year-old guys and a lady. We do our very first campaign, record it for posterity, upload it into YouTube for you guys as entertainment. On Thursdays, we have a curated list of trailers, features, videos, clips, all of the upcoming content that we will react to and see whether how hyped we are for that particular content. And on Fridays, Chubax and our other bestest best friend RJ can't get enough of D&D, so they decided to run a second campaign where they are bad guys. So those occasionally drop on Fridays. So most of the week after our little bit of hiatus, you'll get fresh new content that you can enjoy with us. So hang out with me and my bros. You can follow us on youtube.com/plus 63HP. Or if you want to join our recording live, we record on weekends morning. So anywhere between 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. So that's 10:30 p.m. to 12:30 p.m. Philippine time. You can log on to twitch.tv/plus 63HP and watch us, watch how the sausage is made, how we hang out, how I record our podcast. So basically just chill with me and my bros. With that housekeeping done in this episode, I am very excited to discuss the recently finished first season of Percy Jackson and the Olympians on Disney Plus. So before we get into let's get into our initial reactions, non spoilery stuff, but with the added level on how are we familiar with the material. So, like for me, I have never seen the Percy Jackson movies
Oh,
with
really?
Alexander Daddario. I haven't up until I saw the series, right? Never seen the movies. I know we discussed Edith Hamilton's Greek mythology in high school a little bit. I never paid attention, which is weird. I have no idea about these gods. The most
Hmm.
that I know about the gods are from God of War, which is already a little bit of a different rendition
Mhm.
to what is in the book. So I've never read the books by Rick Riordan. So coming into the series, I'm like virginal, wide open. I still have questions which I'm going to ask you guys, and which I've been listening to other podcasts. Like shout out to the Ringer verse. I'm listening to Mallory Rubin and Joanna Robinson discuss this episode by episode, and then the last two episodes they have a deep dive on the finale, but also they had an interview with the writer. So I've had a little bit more additional. I'm not done with the episodes yet, but I had no idea. Like I had a vague idea that the Titans, which is the Kronos level,
Kronos
was
Gaia.
toppled by the gods, which is the Zeus level,
Mm-hmm.
and then they fuck all the time, so they have demigods that kind of like do their dirty work and
They
weird
have gods
shit like
also. They also have children from the gods.
the children from the
Mhm.
gods. So it's just it's I need to do like a deep dive on it. So that being said, I still truly enjoy the series. I have been, but I am now even more a big fan of Walter Scoble, right? Mini Ryan Reynolds,
Oh, the
Percy
kid.
himself.
Mm,
He's a great actor. So he's
And
very engaging.
what I liked is they didn't try to make him look pretty all the time. Like
mhm,
when his hair was wet, it didn't look nice, but they stuck with it, and he's a pretty good actor actually.
He's a really
yeah.
good actor. I was I was already impressed with the VFX of the entire series, and then I was even a bigger fan when I was listening to the reviews on how many things that they cut from the books to save on CG because this is the first season, and usually the first season is like we'll give you money, but not a lot of money.
Mhm,
So a lot of people are very looking forward to the second season, having that they might have a bigger VFX budget. They're not gonna cut a few fights. I heard there was a boar somewhere that wasn't here. But I'm
mm.
also kind of like I know Arnie has seen the movie, so I'm interested
I've seen
in
the movies
like
also.
what
I've read the books.
and
Oh
what are
wow.
the glaring differences with the movie? Because like I saw the first seven episodes while waiting for the eighth episode. I saw the first movie,
Okay.
Mhm,
and then I saw the last episode, and then I was like, "Holy shit!" There's a lot of things missing. Here's like what had
mm,
happened. So I'm excited to discuss that. But overall, this was a fun series. It
mhm,
was deep, well acted, really good effects. The mom was great. Fucking Grover, I loved.
mhm.
I wish there were bigger names on the god level. Like I wish the
Well,
dad
the
Poseidon
movie
was
did that,
Yeah.
yeah. So I wish the like even at least just Poseidon was a little bit more recognizable, right? Because
but
Zeus,
I know him from
I don't.
he's
The
From where?
the bad guy from shit, the last Pierce Brosnan Bond. Oh, not the last, the one with Hal Berry. Was it Hal
Huh.
Berry? Yeah, the one with the ice thing.
Hmm.
Uh,
I
I
I do
he
not recognize the
remember the fencing scene with Madonna.
Madonna.
Yeah, she was like no, she James Bond was in a fencing scene with the bad guy, and Madonna was like the extra
Okay, okay. I
leader of
vaguely
the
remember.
right.
Yes.
This is the first
Mm,
big movie of our crush from the mom in Saltburn, from Wheel of Time, the blonde,
Rosamund Pike.
yeah, Rosamund Pike. She was one of the Bond girls that
mm,
turned out to be a bad guy, and she was
yeah.
working for him. That's where I knew
Um,
Poseidon.
Okay. I just like in the movies we immediately knew everyone. Even like Poseidon in the movies was kind of like iffy before I remember like oh Grey's Anatomy guy. But in the end, that's the only main complaint. And then maybe the very very small complaint that I have was I personally think Annabeth was a little weak on the acting end. Like she
mm,
needed to be the strategic expert, but sometimes she lost me a little bit towards the end. Like I really, really loved Annabeth.
yeah.
But Grover, Annabeth, Luke, fucking, even the dude, you if you get Jason Madsukas, just being Jason Madsukas, but even more godly annoying,
Mm,
I'm a big fan. So, non-spoilery, I think this is a wonderful series to watch as a family with your kids to introduce you to kind of like weird family dynamics things happening in school slash camp, like all the it's being different, being bullied, being like dealing with your emotions, etc., etc. There are a few things that I'll discuss later or want to touch on a little bit more about the there's certain things that the movie, or maybe very very few, maybe like one point that the movie was very very explicit about Percy's talents that was kind of silent in the series, like explaining like all of the in the movies they were really good, like all the things that makes you weird, like your ADHD or X, all of the things that you struggle with, those are symptoms of your strength because you are, demigod. In the series, it was just because maybe there's too much time. They're just like they let it happen silently.
mm,
Like,
yeah.
you're kicked out a lot. You're impetuous. They didn't really say you're impetuous because XYZ. So maybe that's the only thing. Because like when I saw the movie,
They explained
I
it
said
there.
like Well, also just like the idea of
Like they
like
thought you were ADHD, but your mind's just running faster than normal.
running faster. Those are your
Reading, doing.
reflexes. But I'm looking at it's like you, dude. You don't even know you're a god, and then you have defeated so many people in the first 3 days in camp. Right? So
Mm.
that's what the fuck. I mean, so yeah, you
I
have
mean, they're all demigods, but he's just a step above.
yeah, he's like he has a
It's
predisposition to those kinds of things. So if that
the
would have been
big three.
cleared, that would be nice. But yeah, so Arnie, how about you? Initial reactions to Percy Jackson and the
And what's your
Olympians. TV.
background?
Well, I watched the movie, and I mean, I know a little bit more of Greek mythology. Yeah, Greek
Great.
mythology. Yeah, but I haven't read the books. But I mirror your sentiments about this series, and I really think I guess it's now becoming more and more my opinion that uh, a series is much better than a movie because they have the time to let things cook, expand on some things, tie up more loose ends. Um, at one point I really thought that the Medusa in the series was Alexander Daddario, but it's not.
No, it's
But
it was
but
the girl from Shazam,
Recognizable girl.
the the youngest one when she transforms to her Shazam counterpart. It's that girl.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the one in
Uh,
Jessica
purple, I
Parker
think.
Kennedy
Yeah,
is her name. Yeah,
Jessica
she's
Kennedy.
isn't
Hmm.
she in Flash?
yeah. I
No?
think she's the
The
She's
kid,
daughter. The daughter.
the daughter of
Nora
Flash.
West.
Yeah,
That's her.
Nora West.
Oh,
I think that's her.
okay. Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Even better then. But yeah. The kid was very relatable. You know, uh, the mom was I don't know. I have a little crush on the mom.
The mom was awesome.
But yeah, and
Surprisingly,
she's really good too. Um, Grover was also relatable, and I agree with the Annabeth thing because I mean, for me, seeing the movie first, it's really hard to when you're comparing with Alexander Daddario. I mean, you know, it's just more of well, it's Alexander Daddario. Those eyes are really unique, right? Um, but yeah, I mean, it's really well made, and in some episodes, my son was actually sitting with me watching it.
really.
Of course, has no idea what's happening, but at least he's not bored about it. So, because he's seeing kids, like maybe not as old as him, but like a lot older, but he still understands that these are kids on the screen doing stuff. So it was fun. Yeah, having him sit some of the episodes. And then of course, a little bit of spoiler, like seeing Lin Manuel, like, oh, okay,
The,
I buy him.
the
I buy him as a god. So there's
great
that too.
Hermes. I like him
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. So
I'm
yeah,
wrong, pala.
so
The girl from Shazam is different. Megan Good,
making good. Oh, okay,
different.
okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think in the movie was Poseidon Sean Bean, right?
No, she
Or
was
No,
Zeus. Sean
Sean
Bean
Bean is
was
Zeus.
Zeus.
Sean Bean was well. Lance Reddick was also good,
Oh,
but
I liked Lance
but of
Reddick more. He
course,
was
I mean, that's why I figured I wish they had somebody more recognizable as Poseidon because it's Lance Reddick.
yeah, yeah. But it's a good mixture of characters, and and I think most are well represented without being forced. That's not being uh like nobody was stunt casted, nobody was like a token blank, right? It all made sense for the most part, so there's that too. Yeah.
CHUBAX?
yeah, me I really liked it. I was surprised because I was kind of tired of not really tired, but I was one of those like what's the point, like we had the
Mm.
movies that didn't do well, then they're trying again. And I'm just more tired of the two guys one girl trope party. And like
That's one of so
Yeah.
in the Ringerverse they have
can
an
we get
episode
something else?
dedicated to tropes, and then that's what they wanted to discuss. I paused there because like I wanted to discuss with you guys too, where like, hey, two guys, one girl, the trio trope
Yeah.
the either initially romantic interest, but they're going to just be sisters and best friends, or they're going to be romantic interest in the future. Like, it's
Yeah.
always it's the same for everything. And then they people don't, or at least why do writers keep on writing that trope?
Can we
That's
have
kind
one
of
guy,
like
two girls? Can we have one guy, three girls, or two guys, three
to
girls? Why does it have to be the three with
it's
the
always a triad, and there's always in the triad there's the level-headed one, there's the comic
Mm.
relief, and then there is the one
part?
that is the
No.
the Percy, right?
Yeah,
The
something about
impetuous one.
something about the number three. I mean, you have three sisters of Dathomir. I mean,
But yeah,
charmed.
I did I watched the series with Bella, so we really liked it. We had fun, and I don't know. We hope let's hope they get all to make all the series. And I'm gonna do a spoiler because I don't think they're gonna get to this part. But what really surprised me with the series in the books is, so we have like 5 books, right? Around 5 books
Mhm.
Oh,
for
there's
Percy
five. I was gonna ask
Jackson.
how many books there are.
I think
Should I
there's
read them?
five in the major books, and then
Mhm.
by at the end of that, we don't know. So this is spoiler stuff for anybody don't who wants to read
Mhm.
or stay away. But there's another 5 books going parallel with that, and it's the son of the Roman
Mm.
gods,
Oh.
and it's like the same world, and it's like and then at the end of that, there's another prophecy that combines them both. So that like the other main series after that is them like they switched. Like I think Percy went to the other side,
Greek
Jason went to the other side, and then they
Greek
have
and
What's the name
to
of
Roman.
the other series?
Okay.
I forgot. Let me figure it out.
Greek and Roman.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it was
Okay.
cool. It's like their
It's
training
kind
is
of like,
more militaristic. The Romans
yeah.
their
Well,
camp
yeah.
is more like boot camp, more like on that side.
Yeah,
That's
because it's more Jupiter, and God of War is Mars. Okay.
yeah.
Uh, well, hopefully Disney Plus got enough views for this series for them to get the
No,
whole
they
five.
definitely it was a critically acclaimed series. It's also very, very well watched. It's one of the more popular series in Disney Plus. So
Yeah.
they are very confident that they're gonna have the commensurate budget that they need in season two. Because again, I did not realize that one of the main things that they were saying in season one was, or at least the showrunners and the writers were, they had to cut a lot of things. A
Mm,
lot of things. They, even just moving the beach house from, it's supposed to be beach in Santa Monica, not
mm,
in the East Coast in Montauk. But for one, for practical reasons, like you can't just keep on teleporting this dude coast to
mm.
coast, right? So story wise, it makes a little bit more sense. It's a little bit more dramatic, but also they didn't have to have bi-coastal shoots, or at least a different
Yeah.
set, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's all in. Well, at least these ones were all in Vancouver, I think.
Yeah.
Shot.
Plus,
So
plus, it's good for Disney Plus to have something other than Marvel or Star
yep,
Wars that
exactly.
you know, uh, and have their own property. And
Okay.
they could put something in Disneyland too. I mean, hey, this would be an actual potential theme in Disneyland if they want to put something else in there, right?
Oh, it
Like
is
I want to
Disney.
be, in
So
Camp
yeah,
Half Blood, you know?
I'm a mistake. The next so the first book for 5 books, the Percy Jackson series, and the next five
Mm.
is major integrated na. I think the like book one of the Heroes of Olympus starts with Jason na. So again, it's three. It's
Oh,
Jason,
Jason
Piper, and
Argonauts.
Leo. Jason, Piper, and Leo. And
Mm.
then within the like next 2 books they integrate na, and then by the last of the book, they're all together na.
Hmm.
So but it's cool because it's like
Yeah, because Percy is Perseus, and then Jason Argonauts, or
when they met, like I don't know which book that they met. Like after the like the main fight of Percy Jackson in book 5, and then oh
mm,
yeah, where were you when we did this? Like Percy, and then Jason was like, "You asked while you were doing that, we were here doing this." Like you were fighting something else. Like but it's connected.
mm.
It's like oh that makes sense. So
So
why don't you
so that's
think
good.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be what Love and Thunder was supposed to be. Like all the gods are combined.
Yeah, yeah, a little like that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
okay,
we have
okay.
the trio again.
It's a more PG version of
Yeah.
Love and Thunder.
God
or
of War.
God of War.
God of War, or I forgot if American Gods is combined as well, but not sure. Yeah, but okay, all right, all right. Let's dive in. I
Let's
mean,
dive in. So I'm just gonna run through the episode list
Mhm.
and what I
yeah,
remember of it, and we'll just jump in our question. But
yeah.
um, 8 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
The series actually launched on December 19th of 2023 and ended the last week of January. So it's all out, 8 episodes, 1 season. It was again created by Rick Riordan and created for TV by Jonathan Steinberg. Based off the book Percy Jackson and the Olympians, 5 books, as you mentioned, stars Walter Scoble of what's that? Adam,
Adam.
right? Right.
Uh,
Project Adam
Project Adam.
fame with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh
Ryan
yeah,
Yep.
Reynolds.
He got
okay.
discovered. He got viral because he was like a 6 7 year old kid reciting the monologue
Deadpool.
of Deadpool 2 from
Uh-huh.
memory perfectly, cuss words and all.
The young
Leah,
Percy Jackson was actually good too. Unless I was
what's his
Yeah,
CGI
name?
of him.
His
Was that
yeah. I thought it was
CGI?
I thought they
The age?
de-aged
Did they
him.
age him?
Like,
Because that kid acted really
Oh
well
wait,
too.
I thought it was de-aged.
I don't. Let's see. I don't know. I didn't see. Was it the age? Would they spend money on the aging?
I mean, it looked so much like him.
yeah, or maybe they probably hired him earlier, to shot some scenes.
But while you're checking that, the other main stars, of course, the three main stars will be Leah, Sava, Jeffries. She's on Rel. Not too familiar with that show. And Grover is played by Aryan Samardi. Also, fairly new. These are kid actors, so their Wikipedias and their IMDb's aren't that great. So, um, lots of really really cool cameos, including Lin Manuel as Hermes,
Hermes,
including um what's the name of Zeus, Lance Reddick as
Lance Reddick.
Zeus. Toby Stevens is the one playing Poseidon, and I keep remembering him again as like, he's been in places, but I really couldn't like place him. Uh, there's there's other stuff here like Jay Duplass is Hades, which is pretty cool because of the Duplass brothers. So that was
Mm-hmm.
So
cool, and of course
I
my
got it.
my
It's
favorite.
Azriel Dalman who plays young Percy.
Oh
So
wow!
it's
So
not a
they
Oh
really
wow.
de-aged.
got
Yeah,
wow.
I knew they
They
were gonna
really
spend much. I still think, as much as I love Lin Manuel, I still like the cameo for the movie more for Hermes. It was Nathan
remind me again.
Fillion. It was Nathan Fillion
Oh, Nathan
as
Fillion in
Hermes,
Lotus. Yeah,
Okay, okay, okay.
and he was like a FedEx guy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he brought him to the office, and he was like literally head of the post office or something. It was funny.
yeah. Yeah. Everything was just cool. Like uh, Chiron in the movies is played by Pierce Brosnan, but here it's what's his name, Manoj Sood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Really cool cast. A good combination of like relatively unknowns and really big people, so that you can really pull in the audience. But essentially, we follow Percy at his school. We get a lot of exposition about, as a kid, he wanders, he's impetuous, he sees a lot of things. And what I love in the first few episodes is the indictment on the education system, but not in such a super bad way. It's just that the school itself is kicking out Percy because they know they can't handle a person with these special problems or their special gifts, which is not only seeing things but acting on seeing things. Because yeah, if there's a kid that thinks that they saw a flying horse and went up to the roof and jumped off the roof to ride the flying horse, I would
Mm,
be very, very concerned too, right?
yeah.
So I love the idea, the hair, that the you see a fairly practical asshole-ish but very practical reasons on showing how difficult it is to provide education to anybody with special needs. So in Percy's case, a lot of it is mental. I
Mhm.
also like the idea that he starts becoming like he's the one that understands that he's the problem. And that's the another main theme across this series is just, if whenever you're a problem, not only do you have to deal with the problem, but you have to apologize for the problem in the future. So he was the one that's saying that, I am there's something wrong with my brain. I need to calm down, etc., etc. So, but in the first episode, in one of their field trips, Percy's uh second grade teacher or English teacher turns into something else and attacks him, and he kind of was able to protect himself with that. And then this is what kind of like starts his awakening, where his best friend Grover now kind of uh urges him to like leave, go back home. Grover talks to the mom about something, saying like they have to leave, etc., etc. And they do. So the summary of it here is like Grover has all like his mom has always known that Percy has special gifts. That's why she powers through all of the problems. Grover is his um Grover is his protector and best friend.
Mhm.
And then Grover used so in this episode, the bully of Percy Jackson got pushed to the fountain, and then Percy was being accused of pushing the person, which he didn't.
Oh, he
Grover
did. He
then
did. He did. Just not
no,
He
because
did.
he
physically.
did. He said he didn't touch her.
Yes, he didn't touch her, but
Yeah.
he still
Okay.
pushed her. Pushed her. I mean,
Yeah. So, but Grover used that as an opportunity to get Percy kicked out and away from school, knowing that
dick
these
move though. Dick move.
yeah, well, again, I understand the move, but I
Could
had
have
a
given
little
him a
heads
heads
up,
up.
So, and the good thing here is I like the series. They say it's like, maybe I should have told Percy sooner. Maybe I should have told Sally sooner, so that they could have left earlier and they could have avoided all of this. But the idea of it is like Grover figured out that um, Percy's growing older as a demigod. There's a target behind on his back, and then people are starting to hunt him, and then they have to leave to camp. On the way to camp, a minotaur stood in their way. Long story short, Sally kind of used herself to delay the minotaur, knowing that she can't enter the camp because she doesn't have god blood. And in ensuing action shows that Sally gets quote unquote killed by the minotaur. So this is one of the weaker parts of me as well, both on in the movies and in the series. Like, one, Percy, if you're gonna protect your mom before she dies, not after she dies. That's one thing. And then the other reason too is like, yeah, after mom dies, Percy was already in the protection of the camp. He
Mhm.
went in and fought the Minotaur. I'm sure there's some Greek god myth of like the only way that you can kill a Minotaur is with its own horns, etc., etc. But like, yeah, Minotaur's horn got stuck into a tree. Percy used that to kill the Minotaur, got into cap, and that's kind of like where his lore starts. We
Yeah.
move on to episode two. Percy wakes up in the infirmary days after the camp. He gets the lowdown on what that place is, what's going to be happening, etc.,
I
etc.
like
So,
this look
Mm.
much
oh,
more than the movie.
yeah, this in the movie wasn't like Luke wasn't really used that much. Like so that's the other thing too. It's like this is very YA because of course the person nicest to you is your quote unquote like you have to look out for if
Hmm.
gonna betray you at some point, right? Like even me knowing nothing about the series and the books, not having watched anything, it's like, oh man, it's him. It's a little too convenient on how nice Luke was. But like Luke was able to give the lowdown of not only the camp, but generally what's happening. They are demigods. This is a place where they train because what happens is like demigods are illegal and they're the only ones that can go beyond the rules of the gods so they can be used
Well, they're
as
not illegal.
tools.
It's just illegal for the big three.
Yeah.
The
The
big
big
three
three,
are
yeah.
not
For
supposed to
humans.
have
Okay,
demigods
so that's so
children.
my other question here is when you get to the camp, everybody's of the same age around about. So do they age?
They do. They're not. They're not
Well,
supposed to. Well, they're not. They're not the same age. Luke is older. Clarice is
yeah, but
older.
like
So there's.
it looks like Luke, Annabeth, and Percy are kind of like batchmates. So
Oh, look!
did
Look! Look! Look!
Athena.
Luke is a little older. Athena, I think, is older as well. And then
Hmm.
yeah, Annabeth is younger. Grover
Yeah,
is
but they're not
24
they're
nga,
not
diba?
like hundreds of years older than each other, right?
No, no, no. I
No.
think they
They
age.
age
I think they
normally.
age normally. I think.
Age normally.
Okay,
Eh,
so or
eh,
that's the other thing. So it's like, oh, convenient that you're all within, let's say, 5 to 10 years of each other.
yeah.
So essentially,
No, well, it's
Athena,
it's
her
more like school where it gets dangerous at a certain age, so that's when they send you. So that's why they're all around, like a batch worth of
okay,
age.
Yeah.
and then are there older batches, and then they would. It's just
They,
like for
they
me, it's
no,
just
they
like convenient that it's
probably
older batch.
move on. Na. They're strong and they can take care of themselves.
Got
Yeah.
it.
So like
I
Okay.
they
mean, plus
graduate.
it feels like it's not a full term school. So it's just like, summer school, whatever. It's not really because now that they know who they are, they could handle regular school
Mm-hmm.
or muggle school or something like that. Plus also there's that trope of
Was
sorting, right? Oh yeah, this house is if you've been claimed by this god or da 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 da. So there's always that trope, like the sorting or the grouping, right? You see in all YAs. Right? What's that?
yeah.
That's not me.
No, that
Yeah,
was
but
me.
yeah.
Sorry.
So
And so this is the episode where, like, all right, this is the introduction to camp.
mhm.
There is, apart from introducing Jason Matsuka's pretending to be Percy's dad to trick him to get alcohol. Another, like, again, very,
Dionysus,
very,
yeah,
very, very, very early on, you kind of see like Dionysus is kind of like cursed to not be able to partake in any pleasures. So he needs Percy to get wine for him.
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
Right. So and that's just like it's a nice foreshadowing of a lot of things. But here's the thing. I think this would have been better if I understood who Dionysus was, but I don't.
yeah. I think
I
if I remember correctly, he's the god of wine or some
Wine. Yeah.
pleasure, whatever. Yeah.
so I don't know. That's
Yep,
why
god of wine, vegetation, pleasure, festivity, madness, and wild frenzy. So
and so this is where we kind of like push where Percy wants to talk to his dad about his mom, etc., etc. There's a few more things that had happened in between, but there's a capture the flag game where we kind of get introduced to Annabeth a little bit more. The person stalking Percy, she's stalking Percy because one of her um oracle announcements or one of her what do you call that? What's a thing that quests or one of the things that pertain to her future is like she will go on a particular quest that they can only do something like that. Like she needs to find a person that will be given that quest set. So the idea of him is like she keeps on waiting on that special person for that special quest. So every new person she kind of stalks and hounds and Percy's the new one. In the capture the flag, we kind of see um few more tricks or powers that Percy has in terms of reflexes and some because we still don't know up until this point who Percy's dad
Father.
is. So they nobody know what activates or to the extent of his power, but during this, like the water healed Percy real quick after being slashed a bunch of times by
No, well,
Clarice
it
and
started when he was bullied in the bathroom, and Clarice
the
saw,
bathroom.
I
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
Annabeth saw that the water reacted to him. That's why she kind of was already thinking.
Pushed.
So yeah, so when she pushed him in the water, that's when he already had a idea who it be.
And yeah, that's where we kind of like, he is all for all intents and purposes, him and his team wins, capture the flag. He kind of like gets the lowdown about what is happening because he's the son of Poseidon. There's going to be a war. Not only because there's a son, but also the Master Bolt was stolen. So Chiron and Dionysus kind of gives Percy the task of finding the master, or at least preparing for this war. And then um Grover also knew that Sally Jackson wasn't dead because if you get crushed by a minotaur, you get squished. You don't kind of
Mm-hmm.
like disappear into nothingness. So that's kind of like one clue that had happened. And then you realize that Sally Jackson was
Taken.
abducted by Hades to the underworld to trick um uh uh Percy to find the Master Bolt, give him the Master Vault, or go to Hades and do whatever his bidding is. So, with despite Chiron and Dionysus' reluctance, they go on this quest to at least find a way to Hades and talk to him about stuff like one, that he doesn't have the Master Bolt, like Percy doesn't have the Master Bolt, and two, maybe because he doesn't have the Master Bolt, he can let his mom go. So that's kind of like the main quest that they're happening. There's a little bit about the Oracle in this episode on somebody going to be betraying him, but also he's not going to succeed in his quest. Kind of cool. I
Mhm.
always love those. Like, wow, very, very encouraging. Um, so they start their trek, episode 3. They bump into after receiving a prophecy from the Oracle of Delphi. Um, uh, the the good thing about the prophecy is it kind of alludes to the Master Bolt
Mhm.
being with Hades. That's the kind of like the thing, um, which turns not. But so they need to figure out a way to get from New York slash Jersey to LA. So this is coast to coast trip. Love all the facts that you don't fly because the air is Zeus's
This is,
domain.
yep.
So they need to be on the ground. It's also nice that the underworld is underneath uh LA, and then Olympus is in New York. Kind of like, all right, there's good representation of real
Real places.
cities and towns. Um Before they leave, they get some stuff like Luke gives Percy wing shoes,
Mhm.
which is cool, make them fly, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
etc. But on their way, they have a lot of they have a lot of adventures, like even in the bus. One of what do you call those things?
Furies.
The one of the Furies found them in the bus, so they had to leave the bus. They have to kind of like walk through Jersey a little bit, and then they stumble upon Medusa's home. We get a little bit of background about uh Grover's family finding
In for Pan.
Pan, who is the god of
Right.
nature, right? Or something like that. So, and then they see Ferdinand on that route, stoned by Medusa. I really love this episode. Like Medusa provides a lot of context about, like,
Family.
but family, but also how books kind of put not a spin, but a perspective in a way of like gods and monsters, like who are gods, who
Yeah.
are monsters, why are they monsters? Like in essence, this is like an episode saying like Medusa didn't do anything wrong. It was who's the guy? um
Was it not Poseidon, but another god was like in
yeah,
love with her or
the
something like that.
yeah, another, so Athena's boy
Lover or
toy
something. Yeah, boy toy.
lover
Yeah.
was the one that fell in love with Medusa, and then Athena just couldn't handle it, and then Athena put the curse on Medusa. So it's kind of like who's the monster here, right? It's the
Hmm.
idea. But either way, they Medusa, like any other Fury or any other person that's going through their quest, giving deals with any of the main three characters to be able to finish their quest.
Hmm.
Medusa said like, "Hey, to Percy, if I'll help you get to Hades, even get you the bolt, but like leave me these your friends." They didn't. They fight. Um, Medusa's head gets chopped off. Medusa's head gets used to Stone of
But
Fury, and
I,
then the
I
crew.
I love that scene where they come clean about the prophecy, and
Hmm.
then Annabeth saying yeah, the Fury asked for a deal, and what did you do? Uh,
Hmm.
I killed her, and then same thing with Percy. Like Medusa offered me a deal for the two of you. What'd you do? I cut off her head, and that was
Hmm.
so
Yeah,
cool. Like putting the invisibility hat on Medusa.
Yeah.
That was so
Hmm.
that was so cool.
that hat is that hat is OP.
It
Hmm.
is,
Right? So, and then I can't believe that there's a
and they
small
kept
part here
using
that
it,
they wanted.
unlike Aquaman.
But also I couldn't get I couldn't believe that they were going to suggest keeping the hat on Medusa forever so that no one else. But they eventually ended up um
Sending it to Olympus.
sending it, so a lot of things, so they could use the Hermes delivery system to get to
Yeah.
the gods. They wanted to say like, hey, here's our gift, head of
Yeah.
Medusa, etc., etc., not going to cause you any problems anymore, but also this is an impetuous show of power in terms of Annabeth, rather than
Yeah.
for so Percy it's good, Annabeth bad, because like her mom's not going to kind of, it's going to show up her mom, that like you're like Annabeth was able to subdue and kill something that they can't.
Hmm.
Right. They move towards they continue by train again. Another this is nice. So for people who understand like American geography, the way that they're traveling, New York to Jersey, Jersey to St. Louis, St. Louis. So it's like it's a nice little, traversal of like
Agree.
different environments. But
Hmm.
in the train, they encounter Echidna and training a young chimera that poisons Percy. And then they leave the train around St. Louis. They seek refuge in the St. Louis Arch,
Hmm.
which is also a tribute to Athena. And other cool stuff that is like,
Did
oh, that's cool.
After he escaped, well, not escape, he fell from the arch. The chimera disappeared, na, right? Didn't come back into play.
It
I don't
Yes, it
remember.
did not come back to
Okay,
play because they were
the
able
next
to subdue Echidna
yeah.
away from Echidna. But that's what happened. Like they fought in the arch. Um, Percy
Bitch,
again sacrificed
bitch
himself.
move by Athena's mom. By Athena, Annabeth's mom,
Yeah.
letting them in just because of that. That was a bitch move.
Hmm. Well, again, I don't know. Did we ever see Athena in the
No, we
series?
didn't.
No.
So maybe they need to cast somebody. I would venture a guess that will be Alessandro Daddario for next season.
Ooh, I wouldn't
That would
mind
be
Oh.
that.
nice, right?
Yeah, that'd
Um,
be nice.
yeah. So they fought in the archway. Um, it's again like what Chubax just mentioned. You're not supposed to get into those sanctuary places if you're monsters. You should be like gods and demigods, but because Athena gave them a pass to kill Annabeth and the crew, that's what happened. But Percy sacrificed himself to fight Echidna and Chimera. Um, he fell through a hole in the arch. Power of Poseidon or Poseidon's minions was able to draw him falling from the arch and drop her
Mm.
to the Mississippi River, and that's where Percy encounters Nereid. All right.
Mhm.
So Nereid is kind of like one of Poseidon's minions, followers, something
Yeah.
like that, assistants. Teaches him how to breathe underwater
Mm.
and teach them about um, how to get to and back, or at least get out of uh the underworld with the pearls
Yeah.
that they have. They were given the pearls that will transport them to anywhere where they think of. Um, all right. He comes out of the water. Finds again. These are the things where it's like St. Louis is a very, very big place. So as soon as you get out of the water, you bump into Annabeth and Grover. No cell phones, no text. Like, yo, I'm at the
Oh, I
north
mean, they
side of the
probably
park now.
went straight line from the arch to the water.
Yeah, but it's a big river.
Uh,
Well,
Either way,
it's a
we
cinema
gotta
sim.
get the story moving.
yeah, yeah, and then right, they start again making their way to Vegas. Uh, um, so they need to meet with Poseidon for help at Santa Monica. So that's in LA. And
Yeah.
then they need to uh
But they can't ride a bus or ride a train because they're
Wanted by the
wanted
police.
people.
they're wanted
Yeah.
now. Like there's like a little bitch move that Percy's stepfather did about car being stolen and mom being kidnapped, etc., etc. But
Mm.
um they knew somebody that could kind of like help them in or smuggle them in. So they needed to uh, connect with Ares
Yeah.
I love
in
Aries.
Las Vegas.
Is it?
I love
It reminds me of
Aries.
Edge. It reminds me
It,
It
of
is
Edge.
Edge.
it is
It is
Edge.
Edge.
It
Oh,
is
It is
okay.
Edge.
Edge.
There you go.
Adam
There you
Copeland.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There you
he's
go.
fucking great.
His
I love
character
him.
was great.
He's a really good
They didn't
actor.
meet in Vegas, but he sent them to Vegas
He
Yeah.
sent them to Vegas. It was like en route from
after doing
St. Louis.
the amusement park.
Yeah. So the idea was like they connected with Ares, who offers a deal where if, as usual, because gods can't do their own shit or their rules
Yeah,
against them, they need to find demigods or champions to do it for them. If Percy and Annabeth can recover Ares' shield, he'll find a way for them um to Vegas, who is somebody because Vegas is a place where he knows somebody that can get them to the underworld. Right. So that's the deal. They went to this winter wonder
amusement park.
this like funland closed circus whatever.
Uh, uh,
There's a lot of tests, a lot of puzzles, which is kind of great because this is a combination of where Percy and Annabeth are really really good at.
mm,
Percy again sacrificed himself in terms of like the trap of the game was like one needs to sacrifice himself so that they can get the shield,
mm,
so encased in gold and whatnot to become a statue of Hephaestus. um but Annabeth was able to talk Hephaestus down in terms of helping
mm.
them or not
Not
keeping
becoming.
Percy in the trap or encased in a gold statue. Yeah,
And
and then
who's this
they
actor? I know this actor. Festus.
yeah there's always semi recognizable people.
Forgot who this guy is. I'll check. Go ahead. I'll check.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the thing. So they give the shield back to Ares. Ares puts them in the back of a zoo truck en route to Vegas in a place where they can connect with Hermes, and Hermes is the only person that can come in and out of the underworld regularly or undetected. So yeah. Um the during the trip to during the trip in the back of the truck and across the series, we kind of see that uh, Percy is getting visions whenever he's asleep. So somebody's talking to him in his dreams. And then combining with what Ares says, so not yet, but so that's kind of like the way
Ah,
where certain ideas were swayed for
Hephaestus was
people
in
or
Psych.
influenced.
There we go.
Hmm?
It's psych.
Hephaestus was in Psych. Yeah. Anyways.
Uh, and once they get to Las Vegas, they got into, of course, like where can you find like a sanctuary or a place where gods would stick in Vegas? And it's like probably the biggest place with like an offering. So, in the Lotus Casino, that's where they were going to be hanging out and figuring out how for Hermes, right? Next episode, this is like we're gonna breeze through being in the Lotus
Casino.
casino. There's a story there where if you eat something, you kind of like the reason why a lot of quests end there or lose their way there is because they forget, they lose time, which is very Vegas like, very very like okay, it's on brand for the town itself.
Mm.
Um, um, you know, Grover was the first one that fell into the spell. Like he found a fellow satyr. Initially thought like, oh, I found Ferdinand, etc., etc. So and then the satyr knew where Pan was, but they got stuck because of the lotus fruit or just like general presence of the lotus fruit there. So Grover kind of got roped in and then lost time. But eventually, Percy and Percy and uh, Annabeth was able to find Hermes, talk to Hermes about getting help. Hermes shooting them down, but also giving them kind of like a hint, like, "Yo, you've lost a lot of time here." Because time moves differently in the Lotus Casino, which, like in any casino, that's super true.
True.
And then once they were able to shake off and figure out that like they lost so many days in a span of like a couple hours in the Lotus Fruit Casino, they went and found Grover, which is great. And then they were kind of like a little bit of hint where like, oh, when we were friends, you don't lose yourself too much. Grover was alone, so he was uh he was um he was spellbound a lot easier.
Acceptable.
Yeah. And yeah, so there's a cool scene here where Annabeth stole Hermes's keys to his car, um, uh, knowing that Hermes was not going to help them. And then once they got to Hermes's car, which is a yellow cab, which is super cool, there was a note there that saying like, some instructions on how to do it. So Hermes knew that they were going to steal, or he knew that he was stolen, but also again, rules and rules. Like Hermes can't help them,
Mhm.
so technically he didn't, right? So like keys were stolen. Fun little quip on how um the car, yeah, they're kids. Like they're highlighting that they're 12 years old here. So yeah, that they were, like bumping everything and etc. etc. So um in the end, the car brought them to Santa Monica Beach. In the beach, Percy learns that the waters, because of what had happened in Lotus Casino, uh, Poseidon didn't come to the beach in Santa Monica. They were too late. The
He had
deadline
to leave.
has passed. The past, and they have to prepare for war. And this is where like Percy still vows to continue on his quest just because he has to. Like he has to stop the war at some point because everybody was being tricked by everybody. Episode 7, they kind of find the truth. Like that's kind of like the title of the story. There's a bit of a flashback in terms of Percy struggling with school because of seeing mythical creatures, again coming back to all of the struggles of being a demigod. So that's an allusion to being having like special needs or special
Mm-hmm.
disabilities in terms of being in the real world. So lots of flashback in terms of all their adventures up to that point. And then they got into the underworld. They encountered Sharon, that
The
summons super cool dog named the
Cerberus.
Cerberus.
Super
Um,
cute dog.
yeah, and so here's the weird thing. So I remember Annabeth was able to tame the dog, allowing Grover and Percy to escape. And then Grover realizes that, was that in the book? He just like fucking lost his pearl.
I think
Mhm.
I remember in the movie he had to stay. He had to stay. I forgot what happened in the book. It's
Mm,
mixing up now. But in the
yeah,
movie, he
but
had to. They also, or did they only have three? I don't know, something like that. He probably lost it.
yeah, yeah. But weirdly, when they got to the fields of asphodel, where people become trees forever, he's stuck there forever. Annabeth, because she has a lot of regret, was the one that got stuck. So that's kind of like that's one of the circles of hell of Dante, I figured. Um, so she gave her pearl to Grover so that they can go to continue through their quest. So weirdly, the flying shoes was started to get pulled to this is where
Arthur's.
like I did not realize this
Mm.
detail until the end, but Grover was wearing the shoes that Luke gifted, and these shoes just started pulling Grover down to Tartarus. So I don't know what that was. All right. Um, and then in the end, they were able to kind of like take the shoes off, escape being pulled down to Tartarus. They get to Hades. They talk to Hades saying, like, yo, dude, ain't got no bolt. Give me my mom back. Um, uh, Hades was like, no, that's not how
No,
it
but
worked.
they
That's not how
realized
it
that
is.
he had the bolt.
And then that's when they realized that when they opened their backpack, the fucking bolt was there.
Mm.
So
Given
this
by
is where kind of like all of the things kind of like started being to
guided
place
for
that
yeah.
somebody from camp was the one
Yeah,
who stole it, put it in their bag to deliver the bolt to
yeah.
Hades,
On a
knowing
side
No,
that
no.
note,
that will
Ares
start
had the bolt and gave it, put it in the bag when
yeah,
he gave them supplies,
supplies
yeah,
to get to there.
yeah. A
And
side
then
note, that bolt looked better than the one in Love and Thunder.
oh yeah.
and it looked
Oh,
better than the one in the movie. The movie was just
Just like a
like a
CGI,
triangle, yeah, and like a lightning,
yeah,
yeah.
lightning, yeah.
and it's kind of this is where it gets convoluted because there's two tracks that were happening. So I'm gonna spoil a little bit because the explanation happens in the next episode. But so Ares stole the bolt, or somebody from camp stole the bolt, whatever, working with Ares, gave it to them to be delivered to Hades, but not necessarily to Hades, but they were thinking that, oh, hopefully Percy was wearing the shoes, he'll get dragged into Tartarus,
Hmm.
and then somebody from who's in Tartarus gets the bolt and starts the war. That's kind of like so many things happening at the same time. It wasn't particularly clear, but in the end, somebody was framing them to start a war. Cool.
Mhm.
Um,
And no, and the end game was to get the Master Bolt to Kronos.
the
So
Chronos,
what
yeah.
they did was
Um,
they stole the bolt, they stole the helm, and then they set
Mhm.
Percy up with the bolt so that he would have to go to the helm, and then that's when Tartarus would have should have gotten the Master Bolt with Percy.
Yep. But also the idea that
The war would also
like
weaken them as well. So it's
yeah,
like
the
a
war would
very
weaken
clever
them and then
plan,
Kronos can take
actually.
it. But it's just a general idea that if Hades wanted the bolt, like because like he was like hesitant about the bolt to start. It's like, I don't want the bolt, I want my helm.
Yeah.
Right. So and then only in the end is just like, oh, the bolt is here, let me get the gold. So but he wasn't really in it for the bolt because he knew what will happen if he got the bolt, right? So
Mm.
Percy said like, fine, I'll get your helm. And then when you get your helm, we release my mom, etc., etc. He knew who got the helm. It's Ares, and then we go to the last episode where um uh um Percy challenges, so they get out of the underworld, now understanding that at least at this point, people still think that it was Clarice that was
Mhm.
the one that stole the
Huh?
bolt and put this back, right? At this point, and um, Ares meets them at Santa Monica Pier, right out of Hades's underworld. Um, Smartly, there's a flashback here where Luke was giving not only Percy sword practice, but just like generally all of the things that he needs to think about
Rules.
demigods. Like, very powerful line in terms of two favorite lines. One was Luke was saying, or at least Percy was saying, gods make demigods so that gods have rules so they can't break the rules, so they make demigods to break the rules. And then the question there, the important statement there is like, so gods should be equally as afraid of demigods as demigods are afraid of gods, because of, demigods can break the rules, which was correct. But Luke added the other line that was very, very important, saying that, hey, Annabeth scared of spiders, right? So, spiders but Annabeth is way bigger than a spider. So the lesson there is the worst thing that you could be is small and scary, because small and scary you can get squished. So that's kind of like, that's the good, like a little guardrail in terms of like thinking too much ahead, like, yo, I'm the guy, I can do a lot of stuff. But you need to be wary that these gods are big and they can crush you. So uh Percy kind of tricks, because like he remembers that Ares is a dum dum. So kind of tricks Ares, like, hey, we're gonna fight single combat, but the rules is first to
First
draw blood
blood.
wins. So even if like, the idea, it's like, one, Ares has lived thousands of years. She is immortal, cannot die, who's fought countless of wars, etc., etc. But at least you give yourself a chance with one blow. So yeah, eventually, Percy was able to kind of like sneak in a quick, use the power of the water, um, to kind of like sneak in like a scratch on Ares and draw blood. He wins. He gets the helm. Helm goes back to the um, helm goes back to the underworld, or somebody gets the helm there, and then uh continues on his quest, even with the hesitance of Annabeth and Grover, because like Percy still needs to bring the bolt to Zeus to end the war, even if the deadline is done. So a cute little thing that I know it's going to be big in the next series, where Annabeth gives him the pearls, like the necklace, the beads, and like her necklace to Percy. And it's funny thing, I think in the book or somewhere, like Grover gives him snacks. So that's about it for his quest to the Olympus. So once goes to Olympus, top the Empire State. So that's the other thing too. I forget how he got to New York that quick, because I know he didn't fly. So did he have another pearl to get to whatever? But get to top of the Empire State back in New York, gives the bolt to Zeus.
Nice scene by Lance
Um,
Reddick. I miss him already.
Mm.
Yeah, very
Godfather.
like gravitas is great. And then the idea was like, all right, Zeus was allowing Percy to leave unscathed. That was the prize for giving back the bolt, but the war is still coming, because that's not how it works. And I do like the idea here. He figured out that it was Kronos behind influencing people to steal the bolt to weaken each other so that Kronos can win. And then my favorite part here is like, Zeus knew. Like, of course, that's what we do. Like, we somebody gets beaten, they amass power again, they go to war, somebody gets beaten, and then they amass power again. That's kind of like the cycle that should happen. And then they realize, like, oh, it happens all the time, and it's the people on Earth that
That's
are the ones that
fucked.
are suffering.
Yeah.
Right? Like World War II was the last time that there was like a war between the gods. So
I also
that
love
that
that
was
Poseidon just straight out surrendered.
no, that was
Like
that's
shit.
the other thing too. So this is part where uh having realized that Zeus was not going to end the war, and then Percy was still being impetuous, Zeus was going to strike Percy down, and then Poseidon steps in, stops Zeus, surrenders, which is essentially stops the war, which is basically just an L, from what
Yeah,
I understand. It's like,
they
oh,
were just because after that it was like it wasn't even important, because when they spoke Greek, that's when they were talking about the big boy stuff, like the war was just like a show. And then
yeah,
when
but
they
that's the here's the other thing too. Funny thing when reading the reviews of this, or listening to the reviews is this is like, so you mean to say everything could have been done via email? Because Poseidon could have just, if he knew what had happened, he could have just like done the surrender thing, right? Initially, this would have been,
Well,
easy.
maybe
But
he
I
was
think
also
part of it is,
showing. He wanted to show his son that he was gonna do it for him.
yeah, but also I think it's more of going back to glory. It's very important for even within the gods, the glory. So technically, that's why Zeus, Lance Reddick, emphasized the fact like, hey, I'll call in the others. Like who knows that Kronos is awakening, like
Mm.
maybe just basically everyone. So it's like
Basically, everybody.
let's discuss the terms of your surrender, and then we'll talk for the family business for the family business. So it's like, oh, so it's just like you put one loss on my ledger and that's it. That would have been fine. It's like put fucking a million losses in my ledger if that means that my son and a billion people don't die. But that's the fun part of this. I think all of these glory things is very, very important. Um, so yeah, they were able to stop the war. And then we go back to camp, and then we go back to them trying to catch, because it's still at this point they're still thinking that it was Clarissa stole the bolt and put it in, worked with Ares, and Ares was able to get into Percy in the crew's backpack. But the more that Percy thought about the prophecy, the thing that he realized, the one thing that hasn't happened was the friend betraying him, and then he realized it
Mm.
was Luke who was
Hmm.
working with Ares
And
Mhm.
Kronos.
to to get, and this was because
Daddy issues.
daddy issues also, but also one of the things that was like an important line when fighting Ares mentioned like gods don't dream, right? So Kronos couldn't have entered his psyche, but nobody prompted him if he found it through a dream. So one, he was lying. Kronos did come into his dream. That's why also Percy asked if Poseidon dreamt about Percy's mom.
He's a moron.
Yeah, yeah, he's a moron. So that's the other thing. And then you realize too, like, yeah, Luke was the one that was gonna turn in the nicest way though. He wasn't never. He really wanted to recruit Percy.
Mhm.
Because he's one of the
They
big
fought.
three.
Oh,
That's why he's one of the big three. That's why Percy. That's why Luke wanted Percy. Because
Yeah.
he's the son of. He's a big
He's a
three.
forbidden child.
Yeah. I know.
who else is the son of a big three?
Thalia, the
Talia.
tree, the tree. She became
Oh,
the tree.
so
And then
So, minor
they haven't
spoiler.
mentioned. Yeah.
In did you watch the second movie already?
not yet. It's on
Oh,
the
okay.
Sea
Well,
Monster.
my spoilers like in the second movie, somebody's gonna poison the tree, and the tree is the one that's actually granting the shield for Camp Half Blood. So they
Oh yeah,
poison
yeah,
the
yeah,
tree,
yeah.
and then the only way to cure the poison is to find the golden fleece.
Mhm.
So that's the adventure of the second book. But what they fuck up is the golden fleece cures everything. So when they put the fleece on the tree, it not only removed the poison, it removed the tree curse. So Talia gets back, is back,
Survives.
Mm.
and then you're gonna meet Nico in the future, hopefully, who's the son of Hades. So that's the next big three, in a sense. So each one of them fucked up. Each one of them promised not to have kids, and they all had kids. So I think in the book that's one of the when Percy saves their ass, there's like he talks to them, is like, and first of all, let's remove this forbidden shit. None of you follow it anyways. He goes to the guy like, so what's the point of it? So it's just like, so anyways, yeah.
Yeah, but that's basically it. I mean, there's a nice little end note where, yeah, of course, Luke had a sword that can cut through dimensions, so he was able to
Backbiter, I like the
escape.
name.
Yeah, backbiter. But also during the fight, Annabeth was using her hat, and heard everything. So
He's so sneaky
kind of
with
figure
that.
out like, we really figure out who the main culprit is, and then now they have to go on, not to stay in camp, but everybody had to go on other different quests, but they'll be meeting in a year in back in camp where Percy just wanted to go back home and see if Hades returned his mom. That was the main thing. Grover got his flower pendant. Now he's a real satyr and a protector. Now he can start searching for Pan. And then I don't know what Annabeth's missions was, but I think she was going to speak with she was gonna go with her dad to figure
Mhm.
out Disneyland and shit like that. But they're gonna meet back there. And kind of like the not the mid credits, but the end cap of the season is more dreams again. It's like, going back to Montauk, Percy goes into the um the house, the beach house. Always creepy when there's like a radio still on every time you come into a home and then talking about there's still earthquakes, there's still this and that. So there were still things happening
Mhm.
in the world that was at least supernatural. And then uh the mom the mom came, but it's not actually the mom. It's basically Kronos giving a warning to Percy about what's going to happen. It's only the start. He's still gaining power. He's going to come back. And then he wakes up in a dream in New York. And then the good thing about this, like, it seems like this was days or weeks after the adventures has happened already. And then the mom was already there. We don't need this reunion. It was all
Yeah.
back
Mhm.
to business where the mom was like, all right, she has her notes. Let's log all your dreams or figures this out. So that's kind of like
That's pretty
her
good.
his mom is his Alfred, like, guiding and helping however which way he can on this adventure where, he's back into the city, back into his power, figuring out all these monsters and stuff that is coming out from, Tartarus or stuff. But yeah, that is um
The end credit scene though.
oh, actually
You missed
I
it.
missed that about
It was just the step
Game.
that somebody, Olympus returned Medusa's head to Percy, but it was in a package, and then the dad was trying to steal stuff, the
open.
stepdad, and he opened it and he
That's the
cleared the stone.
other that's the other detail that wasn't in the series that was very, very explicit in the movie, that his mom, was staying with his stepdad because the stench of his stepdad was masking Percy from them, from all of the monsters.
Ah.
So that was in the movie, not in the series. So now I'm just saying, like, you're such a cool mom, but you're staying with a dick. Why? After going from Poseidon to this dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was that thing. All right, that's it. Let's go with final thoughts and reactions. Arnie,
Like I said
how do you
earlier,
rate this series?
I would say I would say it's a solid 9. I mean, you know, well casted, well acted for the most part. Love the cameos. Um, and yeah, and I mean, again, you have like not really 1 hour each episode. It's like half an hour per episode, but you still had more time than the actual movie to let things cook. A lot of the concepts and loose ends, they were able to tie most of it. Of course, they have to keep some loose ends for the sequel or the season two, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's a solid 9. I enjoyed it. Even the music, the score was actually nice too.
It was
Uh,
very I was gonna say Avengers like the
uh-huh.
bassoon.
Yeah. Like I was thinking maybe they hired Ludwig Göransson or or some. But they really spent. Yeah, it's not low budget because considering like Disney when Disney if it was like a Disney Channel show they probably would have saved some of the budget. But this one they spent money, so hopefully season two they get a bigger budget. But even then, like even if they just work with what they had with season one and they have season two, yeah, it's a decent show, and yeah, it's nice to have something outside of Marvel and Star Wars in Disney Plus. So yeah, that works.
CHUBAX?
I'll go with an 8. I love it. I was surprised by it. I wasn't expecting much, but just an
Hmm.
8 because of I've read so many books already, and this one is still tropey in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
But yeah, well casted, well acted. A lot better than the movie for personally. But yeah, I'd give it an 8.
I'm giving it a 9, and I think exactly because what you mentioned, Chubax, like because I have not read the books, and I wasn't already kind of like tainted with the YA, very tropey, very
Mhm.
standard Harry Potter like adventure of kids, etc., etc. I really appreciated how they elevated the layers of this series, like the education layer, the disability layer, the parental layer, but also you're finding your purpose. And so there's a lot, and I was very very impressed with everybody's acting here, and even even Annabeth being weak was still was still above average. Like it's still good. It was like it wasn't bad. Really enjoyed the restraint in terms of being able to judiciously use action and CGI. Like they didn't stretch the budget where like they could have added. I was told in the or I heard over the reviews that there was supposed to be a boar that would be fighting Percy. It's a big fight in the first book, etc. But they chose to cut a giant swath of that because
In the
like they
movies, it
won't
was in
be.
the second book, but I don't remember. In the books, it's been so long since I've read the book, so I don't remember where that one
Yeah.
really
So
goes.
I think it was supposed to be like right before or during the Ares fight, they would be fighting also a boar. But
Mhm.
again, the idea of it is like there were big decisions on things that they needed to cut and move. And I think it did not only did it not that deter or make the story weaker, it's actually cleared it up a little bit more, right? Moving sets from, West Coast to East Coast, making sure that everything made sense, not only in the story, tonally, but also like logistically. So those are the things that you want in these particular series. And yeah, I think the 6 to 8 episode version of this was super great. Like, I mean, could they have cut an episode here or two? Maybe, but like I was very entertained with the pace of the show, and I can't wait for season two. I'm sure that they're gonna start filming in the next year. So I though want to I want to know their plan here. I want
Yeah.
to know, are they gonna do one season per book? Are they gonna combine a couple of books?
And
I
Are they
don't
gonna
think
do
they
like a
can. I think
yeah,
they can
and I
combine
think
them
if they're
into
going
a
to do
one
the
season.
5 books, they need to shoot them all because the
back to
kids
back?
will because they will start growing, and that's the Stranger Things problem, right?
Exactly. So, but I'm
So,
sure, like we'll, dude. The Alexander Daddario was not a high school kid in the movies. Come on.
of course, she's not
Yeah.
high
So it's like
school.
the idea of it is like I'm sure they can do movie magic, but it would be nice to kind of like get these like next few strung along already. I just want to figure out whether they're because it would be nice if they'll. Oh, so one note is in the the reason why this is a darker tone, like compared to the books and to the movies, because the showrunner and the writer Rick Riordan was really really intense. Like, hey, I wish I
Yeah,
could have written this.
yeah.
I wish I could have done it this way.
Hmm.
Um, to make it a little bit more timeless. So that's kind of like that's good. So hopefully maybe they'll do a 4 season version of the entire story. Maybe they'll
Yeah,
cut a few
yeah.
storylines that are fillers or whatever
That
so
works.
that they could really plan out, hey, this is going to be a four and done,
Yeah,
right? We're
yeah,
not going to open up the Roman thingy, right? We're just going to concentrate on this and see what happens. I just want to figure that out because this seems like a series that can go on forever too, right? So
yeah.
but it's super nice. I really really enjoy it. So yeah, um that is it for our review of season one of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Again, please subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/plus 63hp. We are at plus 63hp on all of the socials. We're on Twitch TV dot slash plus 63hp as well whenever we record weekend mornings Eastern, weekend evenings Philippine time. Join us our on and we'll love to interact with you guys. Your assignment for next week. I've already seen one episode and I am already fucking hooked. Um Mr. and Mrs. Smith
With
out on
Childish
Prime now.
Gambino. Childish Gambino, right?
Childish Gambino, Maya Erskine, which is blue-eyed samurai.
Oh,
It's weird. They're not supposed to be that sexy, but they are. I really enjoy the tone. I really enjoy everything that I'm seeing right now. One of the very few full season drops on Prime. So
Oh wow, full
all eight
season.
episode is out. So I am surprised because I thought like with the success of Reacher, they would have like dropped it week on week, but no, they dropped all eight episodes. We're gonna watch it and we're gonna review it with you guys next week. So goodbyes, Arnie.
Well, goodbyes, and yeah, I mean, nothing more to say except goodbye.
Chubax.
See you next week. Bye.
On behalf of all of them, see you next week. Goodbye.